Good evening, everyone. Today we'll be talking about videolaryngoscope. Videolaryngoscope has become a basic instrument now in your airway crash cart. The most challenging aspect for the anesthetist is the insertion of a tracheal tube. You are called in the critical care, in the OR, as a help to your colleague, in the wards, in the NORA centers. So no other anesthetic step is this important. Failure to succeed can ultimately lead to a life or death situation. So I may keep on repeating this again in all my airway talks. The importance of appropriately functioning equipment in an emergency does not only rest in the fact of the equipment itself, but also in the psychological support it provides to those dealing with the emergency. So that I may have a videolaryngoscope, I may have a fiber optic, so I have more confidence to deal with these difficult cases and in emergencies, knowing that I have a backup plan. This is the ASA closed claim project where you can see that the incidence of death and brain damage, during intubation, and most of the causes are respiratory, okay, the cardiovascular, and there is a 7 to 10% of equipment problems. Okay? So just like that, see, other anesthetic events, medication related deaths, there are other complications of surgery and patient, but we are dealing here with the equipment that is around 10% still. Okay, so hence the need for being prepared for an emergency is making a plan A, B, C, D according to the situation, and always, you have to, a fallback plan should be there, and build a kit wherever you are in a corporate center, as a PG, or in the institution, or as a freelancer, build a kit according to your area, and be informed of the equipments in the kit, know its advantages and disadvantages, match it with your case per se, and arrange for that. Okay, knowing this, videolaryngoscopy, it's a very revolutionary tool in airway management. In 1797, Bozzini invented the light conduction, but it took Chevalier Jackson more than 100 years to put a tube in the trachea. This is a Chevalier Jackson direct laryngoscope. Okay. And finally, Robert McIntosh in 1940 developed the present laryngoscope, which is from a flashlight. Okay. Then so many, imagine, so many surgeons reached laparoscopy, robotics, and we got our first commercial videolaryngoscope by John Pacey in 2001. That is the first glide scope. And in 2015, the Storrs CMAC. Okay. It took us 75 long years from 2017 to now to stand erect while intubating. Okay. So breaking down the complexities of endotracheal intubation, you have direct laryngoscope, technology developed in the 1940s by Miller and McIntosh. Direct laryngoscope and tracheal intubation basically involves three distinct challenges, that is the laryngeal sighting or the glottic opening sighting, delivering the tube to the glottic opening, and advancing the endotracheal tube beyond the target, that is the vocal cord, into the trachea. Okay. So the basic principle, that is inserting the blade, having the glottis opening, and passing the ETT. These are the three main important steps. Okay. For that, you need to get the oral, the pharyngeal, and the laryngeal axes in a straight line, so as to get the practitioner's eye in alignment with the vocal cords. Okay, so these are dangerous curves, especially if you have pothole riddance, then you have difficulty in driving. Similarly, there has been lot of changes in the airway assessment. So you have to assess the curves of your oropharynx, the airway, and know different potholes like difficulties. Okay, so in the recent MRI studies, more recently, they have uh, taken a series of MRI studies and it led to form that there are three axes and two curves. Okay, that is the three axis alignment, two curve theory, and the three column models. This is a very important study by the ANZA, that is Australian New Zealand Airway Committee, and they found that the primary oropharyngeal curve, see, this is the primary oropharyngeal curve which follows your tongue and ends in this laryngeal vestibule, where it meets the secondary glottis curve, that is the secondary curve, okay, at the trachea or the tracheal curve at this inflection point, following the S-shaped, this is an S-shaped curve. The line joining the two curves is the vestibular axis. This is one curve, that is the blue line. This is the vestibular inflection point. Okay, this is the vestibular axis. And the green is the tracheal curve or the secondary curve. And this is your line of sight. So how will you reach this along this? Okay, so the aim of the static phase of laryngoscopy is to get both these curves in a line at the inflection point, and the vestibular axis, okay, should be tangential, okay, in line with the line of sight. Now, in the dynamic phases, that was for the static phase. In the dynamic phase, okay, the primary curve, this is secondary curve. Okay, you use the laryngoscope to flatten this primary curve. So as we need the static phase or the position to flatten the secondary curve. Okay, so laryngoscopy is used here. You use Macintosh conventional blades to flatten. Whereas the videolaryngoscope, there are blades which will go along the primary curve. Okay, the MRI picture just reinforces the benefits of the sniffing position. See, this is sniffing position where the primary curve, the secondary curve is flattened and comes in line with the primary curve. So it becomes less pronounced, secondary curve. Okay, the sniffing position, the head lift, and the extension. All three are causing the secondary curve to get flattened. Okay, so the MRI pictures showed us, reinforces us the benefits of sniffing and the ram position, which helps to flatten the secondary curve and convert the upsloping. See, this is the upslope of the vestibular axis in neutral position to become tangential. Okay. Now, videolaryngoscope, where it fits. In the various articles compared and concluded both the direct laryngoscope and the videolaryngoscope in adult patients requiring tracheal intubation. And this is a systematic Cochrane review which showed that the first attempt intubation success increased with the videolaryngoscope better with an experienced operator than an inexperienced operator. So there is definitely a learning curve. How does it increase the success rate? Maya S. Suresh did a very big study and showed us the mechanism. She briefly discussed the airway, the related close claim studies in surgical and the obstetric patients, discussed the introduction of videolaryngoscopy